working under you.
Yes.
Not on the lake between.
We only have one at a time. We get extra charges and things are gonna change.
South Shore.
It's a different dynamic too, when
South Shore Drive.
most people say for the good, I'm saying for the bad.
I mean, just because you're probably gonna end up getting fired.
Yeah,
Fire non-commissioned officers out of
the
nowhere.
chance.
Like Kyle is a worker.
Operation manager.
Yeah.
Does everyone have
got a hard
copy of the agenda that wants it?
About a month away.
Do you have an agenda?
I got one.
Yep.
My first job.
Gentlemen, you guys have a hard copy if you want one of the agenda?
I've got it right here.
That's
You got
an
it.
On the computer.
I
Thank you, though.
think so. No, you have the amended one too. I don't know what the amended one was. What difference it was. I didn't look.
Can't develop the need and
Kyle, the way that the order that I have in there, you can call them down in that order. I would think so.
He probably did, but he gave me.
Go ahead and unmute that. And then make sure the microphones are unmuted now too. I know it's a lot of
His brain
these
fell.
ones.
Poor Roger. They got his heart today. They do. I'll watch him put it right to the ground or something. How do you get it up? There you go. Thank you.
Park over there, just watch it happen on my phone. You'll be fine. Probably. Nah,
Do you want me to like?
No, I'll watch it when Hennon walks in. Hold on just a second if you want to just have him sit down. He's a school.
Maybe you got the mayor. You gotta behave. Oh, maybe.
All right, we are at 5:30 and ready to get going. So, thank you all for joining us, commission members, for this first exciting Parks and Recreation Commission meeting. So, we got a few things right off the bat that we have to obviously get done without a chair and vice chair, but we're gonna start with getting everyone sworn in. So, I'm gonna call you guys down. I have an order right here in front of me. I'll call you down in this order, and we'll get you all sworn in and get on to our next item. So we'll start with Karen, if you wanna meet me up here in the front. Just repeat after me. I, Karen Moorhead, do solemnly swear to support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Minnesota, and to discharge faithfully the duties of Commissioner of the Forest Lake Parks and Recreation Commission for the City of Forest Lake, Minnesota, to the best of my judgment and ability, so help me God.
Thank you.
Sandra Matson. Just repeat after me. Raise your hand. I,
I,
Sandra Matson,
Sandra Matson,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to support the Constitution of the United States,
to support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
the Constitution of Minnesota,
and to discharge faithfully the duties of Commissioner,
and to discharge faithfully the
duties of
duties of Commissioner
of the Forest Lake Parks and Recreation Commission,
of the Forest Lakes Parks and Recreation Commission
for the City of Forest Lake,
for the City of Forest Lake,
Minnesota,
for the City of Forest Lake, Minnesota,
to the best of my judgment
to the best of my judgment
and ability,
and ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Thank you. I get the paper, right, so it's easy for me. Sue Herdina. Raise your right hand, repeat after me. I,
I,
Sue Herdina,
Sue Herdina,
do solemnly swear
solemnly swear
to support the Constitution of the United States,
to support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
and to discharge faithfully the duties of Commissioner
and to discharge faithfully the duties of Commissioner
of the Forest Lake Parks and Recreation Commission
of the Forest Lake Parks and Recreation Commission
for the City of Forest Lake, Minnesota,
for the City of Forest Lake, Minnesota,
to the best of my judgment and ability, so help me God.
to the best of my judgment and ability, so help me God.
Thank you. Aaron Eckert. Raise your right hand, and repeat after me. I,
I,
Aaron Eckert,
Aaron Eckert,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to support the Constitution of the United States,
to support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
and to discharge faithfully the duties of Commissioner
and to discharge faithfully the duties of Commissioner
of the Forest Lake Parks and Recreation Commission
of the Forest Lake Parks and Recreation Commission
for the City of Forest Lake, Minnesota,
for the City of Forest Lake, Minnesota,
to the best of my judgment and ability, so help me God.
to the best of my judgment and ability, so help me God.
Don Tyson. Raise your right hand, repeat after me. I,
I,
Don Thiessen.
Don Tyson,
Tyson, sorry, do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to support the Constitution of the United States,
to support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
and to discharge faithfully
and to discharge faithfully
the duties of Commissioner
the duties of Commissioner
of the Forest Lake Parks and Recreation Commission
of the Forest Lake Parks and Recreation Commission
for the City of Forest Lake, Minnesota,
for the City of Forest Lake, Minnesota,
to the best of my judgment and ability,
to the best of my judgment and ability,
so help me God.
so help me God. All right,
Thank you. Tim Gary. Raise your right hand, repeat after me. I,
I,
Tim Gary,
Tim Gary,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to support the Constitution of the United States,
to support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
and to discharge faithfully
and to discharge faithfully
the duties of Commissioner
the duties of Commissioner
of the Forest Lake Parks and Recreation Commission
of the Forest Lake Parks and Recreation Commission
for the City of Forest Lake, Minnesota,
for the City of Forest Lake, Minnesota,
to the best of my judgment and ability,
to the best of my judgment and ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Thank you. Melissa Lundmark. You got it? Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I,
I,
Melissa Lundmark,
Melissa Lundmark,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to support the Constitution of the United States,
to support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
and to discharge faithfully the duties of Commissioner
and to discharge faithfully the duties of Commissioner
of the Forest Lake Parks and Recreation Commission
of the Forest Lake Parks and Recreation Commission
for the City of Forest Lake, Minnesota,
for the City of Forest Lake, Minnesota,
to the best of my judgment and ability, so help me God.
to the best of my judgment and ability, so help me God.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, hardest part's out of the way. So, being obviously that we don't have a chair yet, I'm gonna call to order, of this, meeting. So, let's see here. We will select a chair and a vice chair later in the meeting here. Get on to roll call.
Yep.
So for roll call, we're gonna go again, right in order. So Commissioner Karen Moorhead,
Here.
Commissioner Sandra Mattson,
Here.
Commissioner Sue Herdina,
Here.
Commissioner Aaron Eckert,
Here.
Commissioner Don Tyson,
Here.
Commissioner Tim Gary, Commissioner Melissa Lundmark.
Here.
And again, without a chair elected, is there a commission willing to make a motion to approve this agenda?
So moved. So moved.
And then do I have a second?
Second.
So then all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, so the agenda is approved, so we can move into our next agenda item, which will be introductions. There's gonna be staff, and then obviously commissioner, and then we have a couple other folks to get introduced as well. So I'll start. Kyle Young, Parks and Recreation Coordinator. Just a little bit about me, Forest Lake graduate of 2009. Super excited to be here, back where I grew up, and work for the city of Forest Lake and its residents. Pass it off to Dave.
Dave Adams, Public Works Director. You don't know when I graduated, you don't wanna know when I graduated from high school. I am, the Parks and Recreation now is under Public Works, before it was under Administration, so, I will be here or, staff assisting Kyle in the future for any agenda items. So, any questions, concerns, you can always reach out to me or Kyle on Public Works Maintenance or Parks.
I'm Jolene Chaik, I'm the city clerk. Here to support Kyle and help work him through his first public meeting tonight. You'll probably not hear from me too often, except for when there's looking to be a vacancy coming up on your commission. You'll see emails from me or notification that your term is coming to its end. You'll see a notification from me seeing if you're interested to reapply and continue in your service to the city. But if you have questions about the city in general, or any of our ordinances, or anything, really anything, they usually come to me, and I'll either answer your question for you or get you directed to staff who can help. So happy you guys are all here, and I'm excited this commission is getting underway.
I'll turn it over to Don, and we'll just work our way this way.
Evening, I'm Don Tyson. Been a city resident since 2009, and really excited to be here and see the Parks Commission kick off. I'm the retired Public Works Director for Washington County, and similar to Dave, the county parks were part of my division. So very familiar with parks, and just excited now to work at the city level on that.
Hi, Karen Moorhead. I've been in the city, living here in the city since '65. Don't want to know when I graduated either, but I did have 3 sons graduate from Forest Lake, and I've been very active in the sports for them and with the parks for many years, and I'm really excited to get the new commission off.
I'm Sandra Madsen from the Parks and Recreation. I'm new, and both my sons graduated from Forest Lake also, and I've got 2 grandkids going to school here as well, so you probably don't want to know when I graduated either.
Some secrets are kept at the...
Yeah.
Okay. So Melissa Lundmark, Forest Lake resident since 2002. Lived in the area since 1996 though. My kids all went to school in Forest Lake, Leela, Forest Lake High Schools, and we've been to all of these parks, and I'm very interested in how it all runs and how we can make it a great future with the parks.
I'm Sue Herdina, and I'm a lifelong resident of Forest Lake. I graduated from Forest Lake High School. I have 2 sons that graduated from Forest Lake High School. And I think back in the day, there were only 2 parks in Forest Lake back when I was growing up. So it'll be exciting to see what we got going on here.
I'm Tim Gary. We've been in town about 45 years. 2 sons also who graduated from Forest Lake, and I'm a returning member of the Parks Board.
And we'll just make sure, we'll try to address it as the Parks Commission, because I know that was a change. So just moving forward, just make sure that the commission is noted for that. But yep, thank you, Tim.
Hi, I'm Aaron Eckert. My family and I moved to Forest Lake in 2017 from Florida. Have 2 kids who actively use our parks in the city, and actively involved in sports in the city. So looking forward to the opportunity.
And then we do have some folks that are non-voting members, right? It's the Forest Lake Area School District and then the Forest Lake Area Athletic Association. So with FLA, we have Cindy Weiss, so you can go ahead and just, if you want to give a little quick, I'm not letting you get off the hook.
Been in town since '96, used to teach in the district, got 2 girls that graduated the last few years, and I'm the treasurer with FLA.
And then with Cindy, Christine, I'm not gonna even try her last name.
Christine Kappelhoff, Forest Lake resident. I have 3 kids who have attended, graduated, and/or attending Forest Lake schools. They have played multiple sports and/or playing multiple sports, as well as coaching multiple sports in the community. So very interested in all that is to come here.
Christine's also the president of the youth lacrosse of Forest Lake, so. And then behind Christine, we have Mike Hennon. He's not gonna be our main school district rep, but Corey McKinnon, who's the director of community ed, will be here most of the time representing the school, but Mike certainly will be a part of that, and Mike was able to attend tonight since Corey wasn't, so Mike, go ahead and.
Mike Hennon, 7th year here in the district as the activities director. Yeah, I still live in Cambridge, but I spend about 18 hours a day here. I go to sleep.
And then, of course, unofficially, Blake and Hannah here with city council, so if you guys want to just give a quick overview as well. Yep.
So Blake Roberts, I had the pleasure of interviewing you, all of you, with Hannah, and I just want to tell you how important this is. I'm pleased I am that after 2 years that we finally have this commission up and running. I know most of you, a couple new faces, and I think it's a great mix where we have people who've been on the commission for years, new people, and just people who've been involved in the community for years. So thank you for your service. I'm available, email, phone call, whatever, however you want to reach out to me, but we've got great staff here and just really pleased to get this kicked off. So if I can take a picture of everyone, if that's all right, everyone's smiling.
Could have told us to get our hair done. Got a bad hair day.
All right. Great, thanks.
I'll just talk from here, but I'm Hannah Blunt on the city council and I'm the parks liaison, so I'll try to be here when I can. Cause I just drove down from Anemia right now, so hence why I was a little late. But just to echo what Blake said, we're very excited to get the Parks Commission up and running because it's been a couple years and really pushed to get this started, and we're just have high hopes and we're very optimistic and we want to fund parks and all the good things that comes with it. So we're very excited for you all to be here and excited to see what this commission does.
All right, thank you, everyone. And I did realize that I didn't print off the new amended agenda, so the hard copy, I'm a little off. So Dave just won $20 because I made a mistake. So moving on to the next agenda item, it's going to be the election of officers, and I'm going to turn that over to Jolene.
Thanks, Kyle. Folks, when in August of 2024, when the city council approved an amended ordinance, kind of revamping and revising the Parks and Recreation Commission, one of the requirements that was included in that ordinance is that at the first regular meeting of each year, the commission shall nominate and elect a chair and a vice chair. The role of the chair is really to run the meeting, to keep things moving cleanly and quickly and efficiently, and also to ensure that when the commission is taking action through a motion, that we're getting a motion made and then a second on the motion, that a vote is conducted appropriately so that the record is very clear, because all the things that you guys are going to be doing as this commission becomes a part of the official city permanent record. So the role of the chair is important to keep the meeting moving efficiently and properly. So tonight we're going to ask that amongst you folks, you either nominate yourself or another commission member to serve in the role of the chair of the Forest Lake Commission, Parks and Rec Commission, and then also a vice chair. The vice chair would serve in the role of the chair when the chair is absent. So, Karen, did you have?
I would like to nominate Don Tyson for the chair.
Okay.
Brings a lot of knowledge to us. Do a good job.
Great. So we have a nomination for Don. Is there a second for that, to support that nomination?
I'll second that. A lot of seconds.
Okay, we'll take a second from Aaron on that one because I saw his hand go up first. So we've got a motion to nominate Don as chair and a second. Can we get a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Congratulations.
Excellent. Congratulations, Don. And
Thank you.
turn it over to you after this, after we get through this, and you can run through the rest of the agenda. So I'll just finish up here. So we're looking for a nomination for vice chair to serve for the rest of this calendar year for this commission. Any nominations?
I'd like to nominate Karen,
Thank you.
the vice chair.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Nomination carries, and we've got our chair and our vice chair. So Don, if you're comfortable, you can go ahead and continue on with moving the rest of the meeting forward.
Alrighty, well, thank you, everybody. I guess that's what happened when you sit at the end of the table here.
And you're retired.
Yeah. Alrighty, next item is open forum. Is anybody here want to speak before the commission?
No one was on the list, so I'm assuming we can just move forward with that.
Okay. Moving on, Kyle, a Parks and Recreation overview.
Right. Just give me 1 second, we'll get a slide going. All right, everybody, you have a display in the background from the laptops as well that it should pull up. So if you want to move your laptop out of the way, you can also get a nice front row look at this presentation. And Dave is also going to supplement some of the things maybe I don't know or can speak more into depth on. So again, this is the Parks and Recreation Commission. Moving on, so this is out of our city code. This is, I believe, Don and I talked about an amended version from 2 years ago or a year ago now, the new purpose. Do you guys, I'm not a huge reader, do you want me to read this off, or is everyone okay just kind of taking a second, read it over? I can certainly read it if you wish, but we'll just give you all a minute here just to read it over so everyone can see it. All right, I think I've seen all the eyes go up. So just to give a little overview of city organization in general, right? So we have the city council side of things, where you have a mayor leading that council. And then within that system, we come down to several different commission advisory boards, including the Parks and Recreation Commission, which you are all here for tonight. Within that commission, we have our commission members, which are all of you. On the staffing side of things, we will have our city administrator, who just had recently started. I believe it was February 18th was his start date. So he's new to our system as well. That's Administrator Mark Stotts. And certainly he'll make his way to this commission. Again, he's pretty new right now. He's getting his feet and hands wet everywhere. So, and then under Mark Stotts, city administrator, we have our what I consider leadership team. I know you guys kind of have your own department heads, if you will, and that's where, you know, Dave Adams, being the public works director, is that next person down from the city administrator. Within the public works system is where you'll find my position, the Parks and Recreation coordinator. And then you can see we just added some additional seasonal staffing. Of course, under Public Works, we have a 16 full-time, their own divisions, or what would you guys consider, like water and streets and?
Yeah, we have utilities, which is sewer, water, storm, and then parks and streets are combined. We're a small enough city that we don't separate employees of streets and parks. They all kind of tackle it together, so there's not specific parks people. There's positions funded for specifically parks activities, but that person that's funded for it may not be the one doing the work, if that makes sense. We're trying to slot hours for time spent, but we don't have a dedicated full-time park staff.
We'll get in a couple slides, kind
Kyle,
of.
Karen had a
I just
question.
have a question. Is that where the rangers would be and they do different jobs throughout the year?
So the park rangers are the ones specifically that run at Lakeside Park in the summertime.
And the ice arena, or the ice?
Those would be the warming house staff,
Okay.
yep.
Thank you.
Kyle, let me just add, if somebody has a question during this, just raise your hand and I'll make sure Kyle sees you.
Okay.
The big change in this, and I mentioned at the introduction, is that Parks and Recreation used to be under administration. Couple of renditions back, it was directly reported right to the administrator, and then the previous 2 years was reported to the Community Development Director. There seemed to be a lot of disconnect there, where a lot of the activities and events and all this planning directly relates with Public Works a lot more than community development. So when we kind of revisioned this whole commission, that move was made to put it in Public Works, where if we're setting up for Arts in the Park, Kyle will be asking Public Works to help set up stuff for the event, where before it was the coordinator would have to go to their direct boss, and their direct boss would have to talk to me to coordinate stuff. So this way, kind of everything we do works a lot better in Public Works, and the lines of communication are a lot better that way too. So that's one of the big changes just on that bottom side of how it reports back up.
And in a couple of slides, we'll kind of get back to the whole operation of things too, and then how things, work out and work up a ladder. So this next slide, we talk about some guiding documents. How do we do what we do every day, right? We have anything from the park programming to park maintenance. What are we steered off of? There's several different documents and things that go into play here, and that's something that definitely Dave can talk to a lot better than I can, but the general idea would be we have a long-term plan that we do our best just to predict out where do we want to be in 20 plus years, what do we foresee. Certainly that's not going to be in stone, but it's to try to project as much ahead. And then we get into kind of some more master plannings that start to narrow down that really long vision and just a little bit more what's in our face now, 5 years out, 10 years out, right? So those documents are very important for decisions we're making today and how they're going to affect tomorrow. And I don't know if you want to touch on maybe if there's more differences with the specifics with the master plans.
Yeah, and as far as the Parks Master Plan, that was about 90% complete before the commission disbanded a couple years back. So that's going to be one of our more important documents. It'll be changed to 2025 Master Plan or 26 whenever we get that done. But Kyle will be giving you some flash drives at the end, which will have that master plan, a digital copy of that in there. As we go through the year, we're gonna wanna start biting off on that and try to turn that draft into a final plan. That master plan will guide when a developer comes in and says, I don't wanna donate land, I wanna give you cash. Well, what does your master plan says? Your master plan says, we need a park in that area. So that'll guide your decisions to help make better decisions on that. It'll also tell you, just name your park X, we have deficiencies, we need, in this area, we need a basketball court, we need more swings, we need ADA compliance. So then, when I come to you or Kyle comes to you saying, hey, we're doing this park replacement next year, we can refer back to that master plan that says, this is what we should be putting in this park. So we have X amount of dollars, how do we get what we need in this park? So that master plan is very helpful for everybody here and staff to present you with stuff that fits into that master plan, and for you guys to make decisions when development happens, to be able to make those decisions that you can lean on that plan that's approved to make decisions. And as far as codes and policies, or city code and policies, it's a mess.
That's comforting.
Yeah, I mean, as far as park policies, we really don't have any. And Kyle's been already going gangbusters on creating policies. It's gonna be a major lift by this commission to start setting we don't have a policy if somebody wants to donate a bench. We don't know how they would donate a bench. We kinda just go as we go. And our ordinances conflict against our policies. Our ordinance says there's no dogs in the park, but we allow dogs in the park. So a big task of this commission and Kyle and myself is to try to clean that up. And then when residents call and ask questions, we can refer to a policy that the city has to say yes, no, or that's a good question. We don't have a policy on that. We should create a policy.
And certainly, you know, with policies, right, it's never gonna be, we get everything done the first time and now we're golden. So we know that's always gonna be an ever adding to a policy. There's always gonna be new things that come up, or like Dave just said, what about this? And to his point, you know, you have these ordinances that maybe have been around for a long time. So while people are changing, adding on a policy side, you know, the ordinances maybe have stayed the same and there hasn't been a total read-through of what's in the ordinance and then what are we doing in our policy. So there, it's not just to say that it's in, you know, complete shambles because of the way it's been done. It's just, it's time for it to get gone through and neatly put together where it works off of each other. And as you mentioned, that's gonna be a very high priority this first year. The hope is that we always have at least policies to fall back to discuss with this commission, to put together for moving forward. But it is gonna be a process. We're certainly laying a foundation here for us that we don't have. So it's gonna be maybe some not so fun, you know, entertaining work right away, but what the big picture is, we wanna grow this thing up and bring more and more and more. We gotta have a base, we gotta have a solid foundation to work off of. So it's gonna be very important and vital to our department and, again, the future of parks and recreation in Forest Lake. So keep that in mind where it's gonna, there's gonna have to be some, you know, relation back to what it is now and this is what we need to do, but there also might be, and you know, Jolene reminds me a lot that we can't just dive right into policy and get it cleaned up because we also have to do a lot of cleanup on ordinance level and that's not just us typing it on a page and saying we're good to go. That's bring it to a council, having it discussed, having it approved. And again, we're trying to do this thing right the first time because it's gonna be a nightmare if we try to push a bunch of policies and then have changes on our ordinance side and then have to rechange all the policies we just did. So we wanna try to strategically do this right the first time.
A good way to look at it is the city code is kind of the rules that the city and the residents have to follow. And they're a lot more difficult to change for a reason, right? You have to do a lot more, where policies can be changed, right? If in 5 years something is different or something changes, you can go back into that policy and update it and change it. You don't wanna be going into city code and changing things in there. So if you look at it that way, you want your ordinances to be the rules that you can see the rules hopefully forever, and your policies are the ones that, you know, you can modify. So you want your ordinance to guide your policies, but your policies can change over time, and they're made easier to change too. So to Kyle's point, you wanna set your ordinances to guide your policies, and then you modify your policies if needed after that.
And can I just add real quick? The reason that these advisory commissions are so important because commissioners are the boots on the ground doing the work and really digging into the issues to propose ordinance revisions or amendments and to propose policy development changes. And your recommendations then will go to city council, and our council, the mayor and our council member, they're the lawmakers in the city and the ones who set our policy. So your recommendations to them are incredibly important because you're the subject matter experts who are going to make these proposals to the council for formal adoption.
And just,
Thanks for that clarification, Jolene.
And just the last thing about that, you know, that's vital of having, you know, the school district involved, because they just had redone a lot of their facility use policies back in 2017. So certainly, you know, having their representation to kind of help say, hey, this is what we ran into if we try to do this, you know, that's gonna be vital to us doing that. So everyone, not only just commission members and staff, but we're gonna also be trying to pull in the outside resources of, they just did this too. So, you know, they can kind of help navigate the do's and don'ts, so. Getting back to that city organization portion there, just 2 slides ago. You know, what is the process here? So with this commission specifically, you know, staff will set agenda items. So myself will be the one setting our agenda. Certainly, there might be discussions had at a previous meeting, for instance, this meeting that kind of predicts what are we gonna do for the next meeting. Certainly, there's gonna be things that Dave and myself are working on, such as park updates or having a new park part of capital planning. And those are gonna get brought to by staff. And the goal is to bring all the options for those parks. You know, what are we looking at? Here's a new park idea. You know, what do we think about X versus Y versus Z? And that's gonna be stuff that we will bring to this commission. Staff, again, will present the agenda. You know, the chair will kind of lead us through that agenda. But most of the time, I will have information per item or know someone's coming in to speak about something. We'll get into later tonight about asks of this commission for recommendations. Once I've brought items to the agenda, certainly, again, the discussions are gonna be, what would this commission like to see? We're revitalizing a park. Here's our options. What option does this commission think fits best for said park, or whatever the project that we're working on? So our role in this is to really go digging and get the best that we can get for a park or for a situation, bring it to this commission, and have you guys ultimately lead, where are we going with this and what's gonna be recommended up to council. And then again, that's where our boots on the ground here, with your knowledge, that decision will be made and recommended for that council to finalize those decisions. Do you have anything to add on?
Yeah, another team member we work with says that the goal is that we bring it into the commission 3/4 baked. So we'll bring it to you without, you know, taking the master plan in mind and taking the budget in mind and getting a lot of all the questions and answers taken care of before we bring it to you. It's not gonna be, hey, we're gonna design a park, you know, how many park benches do you want? What color do you want the railing by the slide, all that. We'll bring you, we have this budget, here are 3 options from 3 different vendors, all within the price range. You know, let's talk these through. Which ones would you like to recommend to council, you know, to purchase for this park? Just like policies, we're not gonna come with a blank piece of paper and say, tree donation policy, what do you guys think? You know, Kyle will do a bunch of research from multiple cities and a bunch of other policies and bring you, you know, this policy pretty much done with maybe a couple suggestions. Is it something different in this city that may be different than other cities? What do you think about this? Are there any proposed changes? So our goal as staff is to not make you do a lot of that work. Our goal is to bring it to you in between meetings, bring back stuff that you can make educated decisions on.
And then from there, once you give that recommendation, we'll then present that at the next appropriate council meeting, you know, however it lines up for that next meeting. And then there, again, that final decision will be made. Communications, this is just something to keep in mind as we go on. I'm super excited, and I wanna just work 20 hours a day, right? There's a lot to do, there's a lot to get done, a lot of fun things that we'll get to experience as a whole, being commission and staff, events, other programs that are gonna be awesome. And you guys certainly, you know, will be out there with us during those events or seeing those things. But as we get through some of the work, it's just to, again, how do we best function and get the most productivity out of both of us, right? Staff and commission. So just a couple things to keep in mind. If outside of the meeting, there's commission-related items being brought up, you have a question about the commission, certainly come to staff. We have to be careful of that open meeting law that we talked about at that previous meeting. So we want to try to navigate things, one-on-one when possible. So if you have commission-related questions, don't hesitate to come to me. Probably the best way is going to be an email. And as we go on, certainly the chair of the commission can kind of draw up some other lines of communications as well if he chooses. But again, don't hesitate just to send me an email. Public related, if you have another resident asking about why are we cutting trees down at Belts Park, bring that to us. Not to say that you can't answer those questions directly, certainly that's not the case, but bring that information to us, let us know, we'll get the right answer pumped out there as quick as possible. Again, any general questions, bring it to us, us as in staff, and again, that person would be me. It's best if you, again, utilize your email. If you are pretty active and you find yourself constantly digging some things up and have questions, maybe write down notes and then send me one email of several items, and then that way I can sit down, get all those answers and get them shot off to you. What we want to avoid is just the random drop in and then, hey, I can never find you, or I can never get a hold of you. Certainly, face-to-face meetings, I'm more than open to that. Again, just setting that ahead of time would be extremely appreciated on my end, because then I can focus some time on your questions versus constantly missing you because you dropped in just to say hi quick and had a question, right? So as much as we can, just having that open line of communication between yourselves and me. Whenever in doubt, just send me an email. Certainly phone calls, if you're right in the moment on something and you want to see, go for it. Absolutely, you can give my number a call, but again, the email is just the best way to communicate. Anything you feel?
No, yeah, Kyle's your constant, right? So he has the entire rest of city staff supporting him, so even though Kyle, you ask a question that Kyle will have no clue the answer to, still send it to Kyle. Kyle will get the answer. Just get used to having Kyle be your contact at the city. Even if you know it's probably a question I would answer, it's easier just to go through him so he's aware of the questions. He finds the answers and then reports back to you. It gets screwy sometimes if you start going to multiple people, and then Kyle might not know I'm dealing with one of you offline or not with him. So I think just knowing that Kyle is your constant contact at the city is the easiest way to get the answers that you're asking.
And certainly encourage residents to utilize that. I mean, if they have questions, they can also reach me at the parks email, my email, or that office phone. Getting into kind of more of our system, right? That's just the operations of it. This is when the fun work will get going, is once we start diving into parks. Just to give a brief overview of the system, 23 parks, 4 community parks, 17 neighborhood or mini parks, and then a couple special use parks as well. Biggest difference that you're going to find with a community park or a neighborhood park and mini, it's pretty self-explanatory, right? You're going to have Lakeside, and then you're going to have Bay, which is just a really small, neighborhood mini park. Doesn't have a ton of stuff, but something for those direct, residents to utilize for kids. But then we're going to have the beach, the boat landing, the arts in the park, and the big playground down there at Lakeside. That's going to be your community park, or Fenway Fields fall in line with that community park. And then trails and open spaces, just some stat there on the trails, sidewalks, and then open parkland space. What do you want me to hit on? Lakes. The three main lakes, with the Forest Lake obviously being the biggest, the largest. There are 3 public accesses within Forest Lake. The lakeside access is city maintained. The other 2 are DNR. So Lakeside Park, our Public Works was out there with that major heaving going on, and they were cutting the ice away so we could safely get vehicles on and off that lake, right? If something goes wrong there, during the summer, we'll be the ones managing it, but the other two, you know, so if you have a question, oh, what's going on with this, you know, what's the city doing? Well, actually, they don't maintain that, the DNR maintains that, it's just on Forest Lake, and then, well, does the city do anything? Yeah, the city maintains the lakeside landing, right? That might be a conversation you find yourself once people understand you're within the commission. So kind of knowing that is helpful, obviously. Clear Lake, a little bit smaller here, right off 35, one public access, city has nothing to do with that. And then Shields Lake, which is just kind of east of town off 97, smaller lake, carry in boats only, and then that's our fishing pier. And you got two things on that.
Yeah, so there's a, there's a fishing pier on there that's the city got in a grant many years back. We also did a land swap with a property owner on that lake as well, so we gained a few more acres. That'll be upcoming for the Parks Commission in the next year or two to talk about how we want to redevelop that. Possibly trails to the lake, new fishing pier, gazebos and stuff like that. So that's a good example of something we'll be discussing in the future.
Moving into partnerships, which is a big reason why we have the Forest Lake Area School District and the FLA that are a part of this commission. FLA really, between Forest Lake Area Schools, Community Ed, and FLA, they heavily are our youth activities, athletics, or even just general programming, right? A lot of that runs through Forest Lake Area Schools, again, Community Ed, and then FLA with the youth athletics. So those partnerships are a key to recreation in Forest Lake, right? Recreation as a whole is not just athletics, but it's, you know, secondary youth driver's ed. You know, there's gonna be other things going on other than just, you know, what we generalize activities on. And again, Community Ed takes a large chunk out of that. Your Boat Club is another one. They have a dock system down at our lakeside park, and that takes care of boat rentals. That's potentially bringing kayak rentals or paddleboard rentals back. They do have some dock space available for boaters to rent. You know, it's something that the city probably would never want to dive in to manage something like that. So having your boat club as a partner, again, brings more recreation options into Forest Lake residents, even non-residents, but, you know, kind of attract people to our lake. Foursome Golf, they run our Castlewood, which again, Castlewood is one of our specialty use parks. But Foursome pretty much manages the course operations, does a lot of the maintenance out there. We do some out there, but again, that Foursome, they come in and they ultimately run the golf course. So again, it's a public course, city-owned, but we have an outside, how do you consider them? Foursome group, organization, outside organization. So again, if you're asked about, well, who runs Castlewood? Is the city? The city owns it, but we have an outside contracting company that actually runs the programming that goes on there. You know, then there's things like our Veterans Memorial Committee. They have been around for some time now, and they have a large project going on at Lakeside. You guys will get to see some of that here in the near future. Awesome plans. It's about now over a $800,000 project that a large memorial is being added. Again, it's been in the works since, I believe, 2008, since they've been around. So another partner of the city, you know, local members that want to give back to vets through our parks. And then you have Clear Lake, Forest Lake Watershed, currently actively have some new projects going on with them. I believe it's lake restoration shoreline restoration is what they're doing. A part of one of our parks, North Shore Circle Park. Another small mini park almost, if you will. I don't know if it technically qualifies as a mini park, but something that doesn't have a lot out there. but the watershed's gonna come in, they're gonna pretty it up and then have a path where people can kayak and they can slide off out of the water, get on land and sit in our little park and maybe have lunch or something. So another partner that's a value to us. And then, of course, Chamber of Commerce, they do a lot with the city as well as partner on park programs. Hometown Holiday, they're a major partner with us in that event. But they do several different things. I don't even know all of them that they do, but partner on quite a bit with us. But directly in parks, we're gonna work with them, again, on probably some programming stuff and maybe some growth of programming as well.
And there's a bunch more that's not even, on the Rotary, the Lions, I mean, there's a
Correct.
bunch of groups that we will partner with to do projects, so we could have filled up multiple pages, just the highlights of these.
For events, there's a couple different labels, I guess, if you will. There's gonna be city events, Arts in the Park, right? That's a city-ran event. You know, part of the corn feed, super popular, tied in with our Arts in the Park. That's a city-ran event. And then, of course, Hometown Holiday, the tree lighting ceremony, city-ran. And then we're gonna have events in the city. And these can kind of vary, right? You're gonna have private events or privately held events going on in the city, and people might think that they're city-ran. The Easter egg hunt. While we don't run it, we help sponsor it. They're gonna provide the Easter egg hunt for the kids down at Lakeside. The city, parks programs helps sponsor that, so it's a great opportunity to bring to our community through parks. 4th of July, another large one that most people may say, oh, what are you guys doing for 4th of July this year? Oh, well, we actually don't run that. We sponsor it, if you will. We assist with some of the costs into that. Of course, things that we might expand on, but just to kind of clarify, it's not a city-ran event, but we're certainly a part of it. Again, help with, I believe it's firework costs currently right now is what we help with. And then helping with setup wherever possible. If they need some help with some barricades, Public Works will go in there and help. If I don't even know what other examples to use that they might ask.
Police and fire put a lot of time in for
Police and fire.
security and all that, so it's a heavy lift for the city that, some people think it's a city event, but it's still, it's a Legion run event that the city puts a lot of time and effort into to make it a good event.
And, another event, the Rotary Plunge, the way that, the city might be a part of the event is, the city will waive fees for the park use, where we definitely don't want to have people not want to run events in our parks because we're going to charge a park fee. So that might be a way we're involved and kind of partner. But again, an event certainly not put on by the city, put on by the Rotary. But we help out by saying, hey, we're gonna waive any fees. Also helping set up, I think it was probably 2 years ago now that they couldn't do the lake. So Public Works, helped set up the jumping pool in the parking lot. So again, things that we want to be a part of, we just might not necessarily run them as a whole, but we're still a part of them, right? So it's just kind of, then Princess in the Park, another thing that there's a private group that does a great event, and we waive those fees, but it's not a city-ran event. So just kind of, keep in mind if people are asking about events, don't hesitate again to refer to me if you need clarification. There's gonna be different things that are going on. Again, Arts in the Park, we absolutely run that, but then some of these other ones we might not. So if you get questions, ask for clarification.
And I think a goal of Cal particularly, and staff, and city council, and your group want to see this get bigger, correct? I mean, that's the goal too, is we want to spitball other events, try to sponsor other events, try to get events in, possible city-run events. I mean, we want to have stuff going on here, to have, people come to this town to go to this event. So another big task for Kyle and commission is we might be throwing ideas off you and saying, what do you think of doing this for an event, or this person has reached out and wants to use the park for this. So we'd love to have something going on here all the time of, to get people in the city and just have residents have something to do all the time in the city as well. So, I mean, we do have stuff going on, but we'd love to see more happening too.
Funding, how is this all funded? And that's definitely something that I'll refer Dave to. He can speak a lot more thoroughly on it. But just kind of give a brief overview of everything that goes into parks.
So the first way of funding is general levy. That's basically our operations. So that it goes into Public Works, and then Public Works divides that out in between Parks Maintenance and Parks Programming. Parks Maintenance is right around $750,000 a year. Parks Programming, which includes Arts in the Park, is about $250,000 a year. So roughly $1 million, I would say. Of that $1,300,000 of it's staff wages and for seasonals and full-time staff. So about $700,000 goes into doing all the mowing, doing all the parks programming, fixing playgrounds, irrigation, all that stuff, just to keep the parks maintained and to coordinate events. So that, and also general levy, there's $350,000 that go from property taxes that get put into the Parks Dedication Fund. So the general levy is internally funding some of the projects that we have planned for capital. The hope and the dream is to get general levy dollars up to the amount that'll keep that fund consistent, that you'll be able to continue to do projects, that you'll be able to plan your 10-year plan to take money in and continue to do projects with that funding, and that would be the goal. That's how the general levy works. Now there's capital improvement. So I mentioned the 203 fund, Parks Dedication Fund. So that gets funded through general levy dollars now. Up till, I think it was maybe 3 years ago, it was getting zero general levy dollars. So the city council, Mayor Roberts and Councilman Valento have pushed very strong to keep increasing funding there. We shot high at asking for $550,000, but they've been slowly building that up. So it's a credit to the council to know that residents want improved parks, want things going on here, so they have shown that by putting general levy dollars into this fund. Also, there's park dedication. So when a developer comes into town and wants to put in 100 houses, they're required to either give us land or give us dollars for park amenities. That's where these decisions will come in later on of what does our master plan say? Do we want to take the cash to improve a park nearby, or do we say, no, we want X amount of acres of land in this development to develop a park for this neighborhood? So that money could either come in land or it could come in dollars.
Dave, question, how does that work with the planning commission? Do they send that to us, or what's the?
So it's planning commission and staff will work on that, but the Parks and Rec Commission in their ordinance have to review that a development when it gets developed, and they have to give recommendation. So it's an ordinance that this commission will review that and provide recommendation to council of what they recommend for each developer.
And that, what will likely happen, and probably soon, with one of the developments coming in, is they'll actually come here and present themselves and be able to, we can ask questions live. And I think it's usually our city planner and then someone from the development team as well.
Yep. So staff and the developer may be completely opposite, right? But we still give them a chance to prove their case or tell you what their vision is, but staff will also provide you a recommendation of what they feel the city should do. So but they get an opportunity to talk to you. Yep.
But, does the park commission then have like a budget, or is the budget actually Public Works and then we go from there?
Yep, this isn't a park board, so that you are just the commission's just advisory commission, so there is no budget that the Parks Commission has.
So,
10 years ago, there was a park board, and they made the decisions on how to spend the money within that budget. It's a commission now where we provide you options of how to spend that money, or following our capital plan, or following our work plan, or that this is what we recommend to spend these dollars that were budgeted through the city, whether it's park dedication or general levy dollars.
and then with, whether they decide on, you know, park, whether it's ground or cash itself, is that then, we're advisory on that, and then the city council or plan makes a decision?
Ultimately, the city council make that decision, so staff, myself, would present that to city council with the park commission's recommendation. We would say X development is happening, they have park dedication requirements, it was reviewed by the Parks Commission, their recommendation is X, Y, Z, and then ultimately, city council would decide either to go along with the recommendation or whatever other direction they'd like to go.
And so is all new development comes under the guise of some sort of a park dedication? I mean, like, commercial has one formula, and residential has another formula?
Yeah, like, so commercial won't be a discussion, they would just be giving cash. There's a formula that tells how much park dedication dollars it have. You're talking more of residential development where they're developing 40, 80 acres of land.
Did they ever come up with a way of charging the mini storages?
That I do not know.
A couple, 3 years ago, the mini storage wasn't being charged because there wasn't any rules or regulations on charging them.
We can certainly table that and kind of bring that back, and I can certainly do some digging on that. Cause if that's a curiosity of yours, we can certainly do that, but for tonight, we'll kind of pass on to keep with the presentation, but certainly I can do some more digging and get more information. I can follow up with you.
I think that proves a good point of what Kyle said earlier, that there's gonna be staff here when stuff presents. So if it's on the agenda about park dedication or whatever, you're gonna have the correct people sitting in these chairs. You'll have the person from zoning or community development that would know that answer. So our goal is when we have it on the agenda, we're gonna have the staff here to answer your questions at that meeting. You know, we only meet once a month, so if we can't answer that, it's like now, if we table this, now it's April before we can get you that answer, and we don't want something on the agenda to wait a month, you know, to make that decision because we didn't have the right staff here. So that the overall goal is Kyle's gonna make sure the correct people are sitting in these seats to give you all the information that you may possibly need to make a decision and get that off the agenda and a decision or direction made. Oh, go back one more. I didn't get to the bonding. So our capital fund, the city has a 10-year capital plan that'll be also on your flash drive. The way we have that laid out to be funded is current infrastructure is hopefully planned to be funded through the park dedication, either through development or general levy dollars. Any big projects like the redevelopment of Fenway Park, if we're gonna add 4 more baseball fields and soccer fields, or the redevelopment of Tower Park to make a brand new massive park, right? That would all be contemplated for bonding. So we kind of try to separate that a bit, where we try to make sure we're funding what needs to get replaced and repaired. And then the big stuff is, okay, we may need to bond for this. If we get hung up on, well, we probably shouldn't do these 5 parks the next 5 years because we really want to add a baseball field or 2 baseball fields to Fenway. Now you've just kind of defeated the purpose of your 10-year plan to keep up on maintenance. So as we get farther down the line, we'll kind of go through that and show you what's bonding, what's maintenance.
And then certainly, you know, kind of something that we're always actively thinking about is grants, right? I know a really popular topic right now is Fenway field lights. You know, there are grants that are available, but that all comes through really good partnerships and planning. So that's always an opportunity too. So we can use grant dollars to, you know, dump into our facilities, if you will. And then donation, partnership, and sponsorship, right? You know, there's several projects that I'm interested in that I might be asking for folks to sponsor, partner through advertisements, stuff like that. So that's something too that, again, this commission, you know, likely in April, I'll have some things coming at you of projects that we would like to pursue, and this is how we're gonna do it, and what does the commission think about something like this? Just kind of to reiterate, what do all those mean? Again, just some kind of clarity on what is park development, capital replacements, capital reconstruction. The park development, again, it's gonna be coming through here. The ordinance says for this commission to give recommendation to the council for those new housing developments. The capital replacements, you know, and this is gonna be heavily park related, is gonna be, the equipment's timed out, and that's where those 10-year planning, 20-year planning, and what Dave had mentioned, we can't just stop our 5-year plan because we want to build a new ball field, right? We have to consider the park maintenance on things. We're going to have parks, playgrounds that are timed out. They have to get renewed, right? So that all kind of plays into part, and certainly will be discussed here as we move forward, because that's a never-ending thing, right? Every year is just another year on the timeline, so you're always going to have that moving forward. And then capital reconstruction would be, I think, did you use Belts as kind of an example of that?
Belts would be a good example, or Fenway, or if you were gonna change the use, so that's a massive project, not just taking the equipment out of the existing container and putting new stuff in. It's, you know, an overhaul of a park, which Belts is almost a complete overhaul of the existing. You're still putting the same amenities in, but a little bit improved amenities, but I mean, it was a massive project.
You guys got that all right?
Ready for the test.
Certainly, you're gonna have questions, that's fine, right? That's a lot of information, that's everything we're doing every day summarized in 12 slides. You're not gonna be able to connect all the dots. These thumb drives will have some of that information for you guys to look, and you guys will each get one of these. And you'll have info, so we want you guys, you know, this is, I don't wanna say homework, but we want you guys to look into this stuff, you know, find some questions that you may have. When it comes to the agenda, we need to get that posted 3 days before the meeting. We want you guys to look at that agenda on Friday or Saturday, Sunday when it comes out. Dig in right then, and then, you know, get me questions that you might be held up on before this meeting, right? We don't wanna come spend time here where we can be getting constructive work done, asking about just simple questions on the agenda. Those, use that communication line of, oh, hey, I saw this on the agenda, what is that? Can you clarify what that is? That will then allow you to come to this meeting prepared to take part in some of these discussions that we have. Go ahead.
And I have a question. I'm gonna be traveling for the next meeting, so if I was to read that, and I will, and I had any questions or any input, could I send that to you ahead of time? The chair? How would I?
That's something that we, like Don and myself being the chair will saddle up something and have a plan for that, but certainly, if it's input from you, I would assume that would go to the chair to share on her behalf.
Input into the meeting, Kyle?
Yeah, so if like Melissa's gonna be gone for the meeting, and she has, you know, some input, you know, I don't know if it's best to go to the chair or come to staff, I guess.
If I may, I would recommend that comments from commissioners who might be absent for a meeting go to staff. We just want to be very careful. There's open meeting laws that apply for this body.
Yeah.
So we just want to be conscientious that we're not stepping in the territory of a potential serial meeting. And a serial meeting can happen very easily through email. So just caution you folks, you know, if you're emailing the chair shouldn't be emailing the rest of the commission members to get input. So I think just to avoid that, you know, certainly email Kyle with any questions or concerns, and certainly you can copy the chair as well, but just be conscientious that we're not engaging in any serial meetings and violating any of the open meeting law statutes.
Thanks, Jolene. Yeah, I think as we start, you said it early on, Kyle, is use you as the point person for everything. If you send something to Kyle he thinks he needs to discuss on the agenda, he can get a hold of me, but I think the more we get in the habit of everything goes to Kyle,
Yep. Okay.
that's always gonna be the safe bet. Okay. Well, ready for the next item, Kyle? You got item 9, Special Olympics.
So this is a great way to kind of dive into what this commission's going to, you know, experience on a month-to-month basis. So I was contacted by a group that runs within the Special Olympics, and they are looking to hold a team in Forest Lake, and they want to use one of our ball fields. Well, our ball fields do have a rental fee attached to it, right? And that's city council approved, so we are very strict on how we follow that. In this case, this group is looking for 6 to 8 practices out at Schilling Park. They have these will all be practices held here in Forest Lake, and then they will have a big event on June 21st where they get to play a game. They're asking us to waive that fee. So then the question is, staff wants to know, what does this commission feel about waiving that fee for that Special Olympics group?
Any comments, questions? Make a motion?
Well, I think anything that we can do to include Special Olympics would be a good idea.
Yeah.
And good publicity for our town. I just worry about the slippery slope, because maybe it could be in a policy of some sort, so that we don't have others right behind them with good intentions as well. I would just like to have something, whether it be for nonprofit, yes, and profit, no, but just something written down so we don't have to individually make this decision all the time.
And then the nonprofit can get really slippery too, because then you have more of those, so maybe could you do a certain dollar amount could go towards that, and if, then they're applying for the time, then it's one way to handle it.
Yeah, I guess I'm more in favor of a reduction in the fee rather than eliminating it, because you still have to put lime and chalk and people out there.
So for clarification on that, it won't be a field prep. They'll just be coming out, they're just looking for reserved space, right? So they can technically just walk out to the park and use it. They're just looking to know that they would have that dedicated space, so when they organize their 10 or 11, 12 folks with disabilities to come out and practice, that they have that dedicated space for them. Again, there's gonna be no additional prep or no additional work on our department, or the Parks Department and Public Works Department. So it's just simply a group really wanting to know that, hey, will this field be available to us if we organize our group, with folks with disability that wanna come out and practice?
So they won't need a jug?
What, they don't have a special request in for that. They're not asking us to do anything special or make sure the grass is mowed or anything like that, just simply the dedicated space.
And the event though isn't in Forest Lake though?
Correct. Yep, it's gonna be hosted, I believe, in Blaine. Yep, go ahead.
Just, again, no prep, but how about, or maintenance afterwards, if a group comes in and, let's say, hopefully not, destroy something, or, is there any kind of commitment from their part that they will come and then leave it as they found it? I don't know, it's just looking for problems that maybe will never come up, but I'd rather think about them before they come up than after.
Or even like the trash cans, because you'll have to empty those with, or how's that work?
At Schilling Park.
Yeah, we do that daily in the summertime, so regardless if there's somebody there or not, we're still out there changing the trash.
What's the potential impact on existing city sports programs for baseball?
So right now, baseball and softball, they typically don't use Schilling Park. It's really not something that we've had a ton of reservations. Softball, fast pitch, will use it as like an overflow field. If all of the Fenway fields, or say like Belts fields, if they're being used, they sometimes go out there. And that's obviously what we're trying to avoid too, right, is that everyone knows that's on the schedule. But really Schilling Park, and Cindy can certainly talk to that, that's not like there's not a drive to use that field over there for any of the youth-sponsored programs.
Kyle, it sounds like taking on a Karen that without having a policy that defines criteria when you consider this like no maintenance involved, no cleanup, that makes it almost a no-brainer than to have that. But going back to where you were earlier today it seems like this is a policy that would then help the commission in the future, that here's the criteria where we would consider waiving the fees or reducing the fees, whatever it be. But it sounds like in the past you've done this before, and what I'm hearing is it's not really gonna add to Dave's workload. That's why you're recommending us approve it tonight.
Correct, yeah, it's something that has been done in Forest Lake before, but some time now. And yeah, the biggest things, I think, to make sure if there's any additional work load brought in, those are definitely things that are considered in advance. It's something that's pretty low impact on staff.
I guess that's the thing I'm thinking about, is just, you were talking about kind of this mess of policy versus regulations and things like that. Does this fit in there? Because again, so this is a nonprofit, but then if you have somebody else that says, well, we're gonna have, something else, some other event, you start setting a precedent, and everybody says, well, gee, you let them do this, how come we can't? So I'm just kind of wondering.
And that's, goes all the way back to slide number 2, when we said that it's a mess, and that's why we need to create these policies. You're gonna make it a lot nicer for somebody 5 years from now when all these policies will be made, and Kyle will be here and saying, this group wants their fees waived, and according to our policy, they're a XYZZ, so a policy, it meets the criteria of getting it waived, staff recommends it being waived. Then we save 10 minutes of discussion because we follow the policy that we created and we move on. So this is a really good example of, we're recommending it, but we don't have a policy to stand on to recommend it. We're just saying that this is probably a good idea to waive the fees.
I can also speak on the school district side, right? There's currently not a rental fee for teams that are wanting to practice on the fields. So even at the school district with their middle school baseball fields, the FLBA, Forest Lake Baseball Association, they'll go out there and practice. They don't pay for their practice, period. It's just gonna be game, because there's already work being done out there, happening no matter what. And if a team comes out and practices, not a big deal, we gotta go drag that field anyways. But then someone comes in to play a game, there's gonna be chalking, painting, it's gotta be properly groomed, all that. So I can say, to give you a comparative, the school district, they won't even charge anybody for just practicing. So that's why there's a recommendation to waive the current field fee. And certainly, the policies that I'm working on right now does provide a classification fee, a classification for the fees, to say, yeah, these groups fall into this classification, they pay X, Y, Z, or don't. But specifically to this case and the next, it's a more of a recommendation to waive that fee.
So this field, you said primarily, so it's pretty dormant, it's not used primarily?
Currently.
So it'll actually get use?
Yep.
Any other discussion, or anybody want to make a motion?
Can you make it contingent on the fee waiver based on they clear it when they leave, that it's left in the condition that the city's not having to spend money to clean up after them?
Yeah, especially because their event is not in Forest Lake. that they're practicing.
So the game itself is not gonna be in Forest Lake, correct?
Right.
Correct,
This
yep.
is just the
It's
practices.
just the practices, so you shouldn't really have a game. I could see, yeah, you're gonna have cleanup.
Is that a motion there and you want to make then?
Was that a motion?
Yeah, I can make an emotion to approve.
With the contingency of,
With the contingency that
it's,
the city doesn't have to incur cost.
Okay, Aaron's made a motion to approve it with the contingency that there's no cleanup to this city cleanup cost.
Yeah, I second that.
Second by Sue.
Mr. Chair, I just have a point of order here.
Yes.
Because the commission is an advisory commission and fees are an ordinance established by the city council, the motion should be a motion to recommend city council approval
Okay.
of waiver.
Thank you, Jolene.
I'll make a motion that city council approve, considering that that the city does not have to incur cost after they vacate the facility.
And I second that motion.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're taking action.
getting there.
Just to add to that, so if you read the staff reports, the recommendation, if you pretty much take off the beginning part, that's what we're asking you to say. So a lot of times, if you look at the staff report and you agree with staff, typically we'll try to bold it out for even and put in quotation marks, and just so then you know exactly what you should be saying. Then you're not getting tongue-tied or trying to approve a recommendation or change. If you add what you added on there, that's fine, but we're kind of trying to give you the language of how you wanna make that motion.
Thanks, Dave.
Yep.
You'll get us trained yet.
I'll do a better job leading you guys to the drink. So again, very similar with this next report. We have a charter high school that has a baseball team. It's combined North Lakes Academy and Leela. And just recently, they've started their high school baseball program. They've operated out there in Cindy. I don't know if you know how long has NLA and Leela been at Fenway? Several years. Yeah. So they've been out there for several years now, and there hasn't been clear direction with them as well, which is why, again, we're bringing this to you guys here today. And they have, again, practices, and but then they will have 6 to 8 games. The ask there is to recommend that the fees are waived with the exception of any cost incurred for field prep. Do note that right now, FLA does manage the field prep side of things, so they would be the one that is actually preparing the field for the game, meaning chalking and field painting. So if there's a payment being made for the field prep, they're gonna pay FLA directly. They just would not pay the city for the, again, field usage fee. So again, staff also, I do recommend that we do that. We're already into the spring, and they don't really, charter high school or high school programs in general, and Mike might be able to kind of talk about how that whole system works, but they don't really generate revenue or prepare to pay for fields to use, right? They'll pay for coaches, certainly they help pay for material used for their games, but it's not like a program that they're ready to incur field costs, and field costs they're different in Forest Lake than they are in Vadnais Heights, and then they are in North Branch than they are. So there's no really good way for them to prepare to pay for rental space. And in this case, they don't generate money off concessions. There's none of that going on. So again, it's just a high school baseball program looking for practice space and then their game space as well. And I would recommend that we waive, or recommend to council that we waive any fees associated with field usage, but then pay for the field prep to be done for games. Go ahead.
Okay, no, questions or comments for Kyle?
Karen.
You said that Cindy's here to that they've done this before, used them, and there hasn't been any problem. I know Fenway's always been a very top-notch situation for the Parks Commission, and we want to make sure that they stay as pristine as we want them. So therein, I would like another, find out, have they left the fields ever? I mean, again, we're looking at something that might happen, we hope not. But again, if they're out there on those fields, and if they're misused at all, there could be some cost occurred. And would FLA do that, or would the commission, would the city?
So if there's any damage done, this group, I believe with their liability, if it's extensive, right, they would cover it, but if it's things such as cleanup or, minimal maintenance, the city would probably go out there for repairs. Again, it all depends, it's a pretty broad question, or there's a ton of different situations that could have arise with that. I can say, my knowledge of this group, they're a pretty respectable group. They, especially this year, are doing a lot to communicate with FLA, FLBA on schedule alignment. It's something that hasn't worked perfectly in the past because there hasn't been clear direction, which again leads back to us trying to create those policies. That is in mind right now with the policies too, is groups like this. How do we communicate? We need to get this done in the fall, et cetera, et cetera. But as far as I know, there's never been any major issues. The only thing that would ever arise is really a conflict of field usage. But again, the NLA Leela coach has done a lot to keep up communication and trying to do as much as he can to work with FLA and FLBA. So I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Cindy, if you know of any major.
It's just as long as we know where the bill goes.
Yeah.
Because nobody else knew that last year, so it was about 7 months.
So, again,
We just added a caveat onto the last one that maybe isn't on it, then should be, so that just nothing happens afterwards that we have to be upset about. That they would know that it's a real privilege to be using those fields, and to make sure that there would be some oversight, maintenance needed if they, I don't know how he put it on his motion, but it could be the same.
Well, Kyle, I have a question, because it looks like on your introduction, it says, they'd like the fees waived except for paying for field prep. When you get down here to the staff recommendation, they're saying all fees. I guess I'm just thinking if they're willing to pay for field prep, charge them for field prep.
those are any fields associated with field usage, so that's just the city fees alone. You're looking at the recommendation part, is that?
Well, I'm looking at both. So the last line of your introduction says that they're willing to, with the exception of paying for field preparation costs. So it sounds like they're willing to pay for field preparation, but when you get down to your recommendation, it looks like you're trying to drop all the fees.
So the recommendation is just referring to us, just the fees that are associated with city fees. So the introduction includes that they know that they're gonna pay the field prep fee, which is done by FLA. So that's an additional cost for the chalk, just the paint and chalk, basically.
Okay.
Those are provided by FLA, so we wouldn't have any recommendation on the field prep fees. It's just any fees associated with field usage, meaning our city field fees.
There
The
again,
children that go to Leela are residents of Forest Lake.
Correct, yep. Most of them, both NLA and,
It's a charter school.
they're part of the Forest Lake area. Yep,
Karen,
go
got a
ahead.
question?
yeah, just left my mind here. Oh, that, we were before talking about no fees renting for practices, but when they have their games, would there not be then a recommended fee for during the games?
Yep, so that's a part of like that field prep fee. So I'm gonna refer to the district a lot of the times. So with the district schedule, there'd be no practice fees, but there'd be a flat field prep fee. And that would cover any of the costs to prepare the field specifically for material. And then just a small amount to, help again with additional time, gas, stuff like that. So it's very common to see just a field prep fee. And that kind of covers the rental. And that's gonna be high school sports, right? If we had a separate, say, softball league that would come in, we'll see more fees associated with that softball league. But for a high school game, it's very common to say, or even a youth association game, to say they're gonna pay a set field prep fee, and that covers their field rental, the field fees, all that. That's kind of built into the field preparation fees. So it's really, again, it's trying to say, these groups, you know, they're not generating a ton of revenue. Their fees are paying for their coaches or umpires and stuff like that, where once you enter like an adult softball league, that's gonna be something very different. So very standard to say, there's a field prep fee that typically covers the, you know, fees associated with renting the field and the preparation of that field. So they're gonna pay for any of the additional time that goes into preparing the fields for the game. But they're gonna have the rental fee just to be there and have the space dedicated to them. That's the fee that we're recommending to waive.
Any other comments or questions? We want to make a motion? Karen?
Well, no, I just had one more question before, and then I would probably make the motion. We're talking about rental fees from the city for other fields. So this rental fee would go to FLA because it's part of the prep stuff.
Yes, correct. So just the preparation goes to FLA, and that's just gonna simply cover the work, additional work being done. So FLA they pay for like the outfield lines to be painted, right? They're paying for the chalk that's actually gonna be used on the field. They're paying for someone to go get that field game ready. Again, very standard for like what the district will do with like youth, Legion baseball, VFW, FLAFA, FLBA. It's very similar to what they'll do is they'll just say, hey, we're just gonna charge you the extra costs that go into preparing this field for you. However, we're not gonna add on any rental fees for you to use the space because they are high school or youth within Forest Lake area using those fields. So trying to eliminate any idea of the city taking money back just for the rental and just saying, we're just gonna pay for what we have to put in additional to this field to get it ready for you. So, hey, chalk, it costs us money. That's what we're just gonna charge you for, but we're not gonna actually charge you for the space to be used. Being that they're Forest Lake residents or Forest Lake area school attendees, stuff like that. Does that kind of help a little bit?
It does, and the school district probably does not pay a rental fee when they use it as well, correct?
Correct, they would not, yep. Any high school program in general, it's very common practice that high school sports don't pay anything to rent fields from city, obviously schools, they don't charge themselves, right? So it's very common standard, we're not losing anything that other people are gaining on. Again, mostly because it's our youth are attending our schools, local schools, there are local youth. So we really don't wanna say, we're gonna charge you a fee rental for that, but we're gonna say, we're gonna cover our costs that go into it, so it's not costing us anything for you to play on our fields. But we're not gonna try to generate revenue off those programs using our spaces. Where again, an outside league will say, no, we're gonna generate a little revenue, we're gonna cover our costs, but we're gonna make a little bit back on that. Which we just, again, it's not common for high school sports, youth sports in general, as long as they're local, right? If a North Branch team called us and said, hey, will you waive our fees, we'd probably have a different conversation on that, because they're non-residents, right? They're gonna come from a different city, district, such as that.
Want to make a motion, Karen?
Sure, I'll make a motion that we waive any fees associated with the field usage for Leela and North Lakes Academy,
Make that recommendation to council.
and take that recommendation to council.
Right. Karen's made a motion, and second, anyone?
I second that.
Melissa, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks. Kyle and Dave, a couple things that, from this discussion to think about is, when you researched some policies, and they deal with the issue of somebody does damage, potentially you have a damage deposit, so you can collect on that, some sort of that. The other thing that certainly maybe the council's interested in on these two examples here is, what's the dollar value of this waiver? And then over the course of a year, that could add up to some significant money, and the council can show the community that, hey, this is what we're helping the kids with this dollar value of donations. Just a couple ideas for you. All right, next item.
So, we're gonna talk about the, our commission meetings in general, the format of them. So, open forums are not required by law at this type of meeting. Does this commission want to offer that open forum to the public?
I just have
I would say yes.
an opinion that if I was confident that people would approach one of the commission members with a problem, and then we would hand it off to you, Kyle, and that it would be taken care of, that would eliminate a lot of people having to come here. That hasn't been what I've observed in the past, so it would be a problem to me if we cut them off here, and then we're not gonna handle problems in any other way. But I certainly don't think we'll have many people coming here, but why not have the ability to?
Yeah, I would think you'd have them with, a 2 or 3 minute presentation time, and, I mean, I think it's a good PR move.
Leave it open. I mean, if nobody shows up, like nobody showed up tonight, then it's not much of an open forum. I mean, is there an option technology-wise to, because for some people, 5:30 on a Wednesday is kind of hard for them to come here.
Right now, I don't think we're doing any sort of like online where people can just chime in.
Suggestion.
Correct.
Box,
Yep.
that could
I
then
think the
become part of a meeting agenda.
Residents are able to even send an email to say, I want this read at open forum. So that's always an option as well.
Okay, that's good to know.
I think the consensus, Kyle, is have an open forum on the agenda.
Yeah.
And that's not like an action item, that's just a general thing as we create the agenda. And then, so again, it's not a required thing, but some commissions do like to do the Pledge of Allegiance at the beginning of the meeting. Does this group want that or is interested in that?
Yes.
Can't do it enough.
Yep.
Okay. And then this is just a, lean in for the last 2 points of every meeting. We're gonna have a staff update and a commissioner update. What we're looking for is gonna be, for the staff side of things, we'll likely bring things to you that maybe aren't full circle yet, where look for this on the next April meeting. That might spark you to do some digging on your own. But just to try to give you guys an idea of, hey, what's coming down the pipeline for the April meeting. That's what we will use staff updates for. What we're looking for from the commissioners on the commissioner update is items such as, I was out at the hometown holiday event and this is what I saw. It's to give just a general overview of maybe items that you guys saw at parks, or I was at Belts Park and I saw some people were having issues, trying to get in the pickleball court or something like that. Just some general updates. What we're not looking for is a time for commission to have 40 questions lined up for us, right? That's what we'll use that open line of communication of, hey, get a hold of me. I'm here for you guys to use during the week. Trying to keep this as constructive as possible during this meeting. That's our goal with it. So when we talk about those updates, that's what they're gonna be used for.
Would it be similar to, I can't tell you enough how wonderful the basketball courts look and are used? That
Yep.
would be part of that.
And the lights.
Correct.
Lights are fabulous.
Yep, correct. Is when you guys notice stuff or are getting feedback, those are great times for those.
Staff updates.
With that, going into staff updates, just was gonna highlight again, we have these thumb drives. Once we wrap up, I'll get them over to you guys. I'll kind of explain, how you're gonna utilize them. But the goal here is to, as the year goes on, we'll do some updates. We'll get you guys more documents as we get them. This thumb drive is for you to take home and have access to all this information that we're talking at meetings. So if there's a park up for capital improvements, we might have construction plans that we talk about here. We'll add that to your thumb drive, so bring that with you each meeting. What I'll likely try to do is gather those from you guys and then probably do it the next day and then say, hey, they're ready for pickup, or we can arrange somehow to cleanly do that. The other thing is I'll dump, once we have like agendas finalized, meeting minutes finalized, we'll also be dumping that into a folder. So as we do those updates, you'll always have that up-to-date information. What we would ask is if you have things that you're working on to create your own folders within that thumb drive, if you want something shared with this commission and you're working on stuff or getting information, you're asking questions, create a shared folder. I can also pull that when we update your thumb drive and share that with everybody else. So if you feel it's important, these thumb drives the goal is to have those go on as long as we can. So say we have a commissioner that, they're done with their term, we want that to roll over to the next commissioner so they can just jump in and say, oh, this is all this information they talked about last year that they've done for the last 3 years, and here's a bunch of notes. That's our goal with these thumb drives, is to really give you a briefcase to come and go with and keep you up to date with specs and things that we're working on, notes that we have.
Great.
If you don't want something to be shared, I would just encourage you to create your own folder, Don's folder, versus Don's share folder. That way, if you don't want something shared with everybody, you can still have your own dedicated space in that, but we'd advise just to maybe have your own safe spot on your computer versus putting that in a thumb drive. But we'll talk about that as we go on and create a really good process for that. But like I said, the goal is to not have printouts every meeting of 500 pages and then you have to hold on to it. It's really just a slick plug it in. Oh, here's the March meeting. That's right, we talked about this. Here's the minutes. And again, we'll just update that as we go.
Kyle, this is probably a question for Jolene. My past life thumb drives were really a problem with viruses. And are these encrypted, or how's that handled?
These are not encrypted. I guess I kind of share some of those same concerns, especially if you folks are gonna be uploading information to it and then Kyle will be reviewing it. Technically, he really shouldn't probably plug that into a city computer. So we might need to revisit that and come up with a better plan for sharing of information. I think that for tonight's purposes, the information that he's providing to you, these are brand new flash drives, they're city flash drives, they haven't been used previously. I don't have concerns about you folks using them to obtain the information that he's uploaded onto them, but I guess I would have some concerns if there's information trying to be shared back and forth on those flash drives.
Well, I plug it into and I have a virus and I give you a virus back. That's
Correct.
the issue, right? Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Did he have like OneDrive or SharePoint or anything like that?
We do. I think that with the access that you folks have, this commission has through city email, I don't believe that extends to a OneDrive file for you, so.
The files be shared via email and then we could upload them to the drive?
Yeah, I think so. We'll do a little bit
City
of-
staff you'll look at that.
We'll
Yeah.
I just wanted to raise
figure out
that.
a game plan
Yeah,
to make
okay.
sure that everyone's, sharing
Goes both.
information safely.
Right.
Okay, thank
Thanks.
you.
Good point on that.
Okay. Sorry, Kyle. I didn't
No,
mean to
that's great,
monkey
because
wrench.
I would not have known that. So that's why you guys are here.
Is there something on that flash drive you want the group to look at specifically before the next meeting?
It was a lot of just like where Belt's project was at, kind of what our CIPs was at, so nothing specific, just general information for you guys to have, kind of where we had left off with the previous commission.
Okay.
Master plan on there too.
Master plan on there and all that type of stuff, so stuff that we felt was relevant for you to have. I'll maybe hold on to these this time, and then would you want them? We'll hand them out.
When he
And
said
then
Belts Park, I want one.
We'll hand them out and then revisit how we're gonna, if we go back and forth. And maybe that's just not an option to do the back and forth, but we'll figure out all that.
Encryption is an option, is a way that it can be done.
Okay. Did you have anything to do for staff updates?
Belts Park bid opening for the site work was beginning of this week. It came in $50,000 under estimate, so that is a good thing. You don't know, and you'll see in that folder, Belts is in kind of 3 separate projects. We did the court rehabilitation, which isn't complete yet. They'll be doing the surfacing this late spring, early summer. That part will be complete, and then the other phase is broken into 2 phases, which is the site work, which is putting all brand-new pedestrian facilities throughout, sidewalks and trails throughout the park to create ADA connectivity. And then, as you saw, have seen probably, all the old playground equipment has been taken out. That's gonna get all replaced with brand-new equipment and port-in-place servicing. On that flash drive, they have artist renderings of what it all is gonna look like. That's the exact playground that's going in there. It also has construction plans of where all the sidewalks and trails are gonna be going throughout the park. But right off the bat on this second project, we're 50,000 under estimate, so.
And is the ball field still remaining a skin field?
What was that?
Is it the ball field? Is there-
That's not part of this plan at all. So that was completely removed. That might be a future phase that this commission wants to discuss. But we're already into that park, $1.5
About the
million,
volleyball
so.
field.
What?
The volleyball field?
So that is,
Volleyball court,
so
I
that's
guess.
gonna get removed because you'll see in the construction plans, the ADA ramp has to kind of do a switchback to get up that hill. So tentative plans of Public Works is going to move the volleyball courts where the ice rinks are, and then we'll flood the volleyball court in the wintertime. And it'll actually probably make 2 courts, just because the ice rink is bigger anyway, so that's kind of the working plan on that. Second update is April's meeting, we'll be bringing to you Manor Park, park rehabilitation. It's on the CIP for 2025. We have solicited or put out an RFP for playground equipment. Public Works is doing a lot of the work, but I'll give you a full breakdown. But just between now and next meeting in April, drive by Manor Park, take a look at it, so you know what it kind of looks like from the ground. It looks a lot different from, I'll show you some aerial views and all that, but just to kind of get an idea where the neighborhood is, taking into account future development, all that, so, but the plan would be to bring that to the meeting on April to get recommendation to council for approval that following week. We have a tight timeline just to try to get that in still this year, but, so that's coming in April.
You know, along with that, we had a vision at one time. We have 23 parks. And they're the new people. They don't, maybe some of them don't know half of them where they are. Would it be possible someday, and maybe this is out of line right now, but at some point to have some kind of pictures or designs where the parks are? I mean, it's difficult to talk to the community. I go back to the sliding park. You know, we've had a beautiful sliding hill, and it's a very difficult one to find if you don't know where it is. So Wyoming did a park booklet, and they had all their parks in the little booklets, so when people would come with families and they'd say, oh, where are your parks? They just give them this little booklet. So, and it's probably down the line, and we can discuss that as a commission maybe, but when you say Manor Park, you know, people have to know where it is.
Well,
Yeah,
and
and
the
your-
sliding park is a well-kept secret.
It goes back to that web design.
Yeah, this would be a perfect example of an email, Karen, that you would send to Kyle and say, hey, I have a thought. Let's see
So
if
I
we can
would
add
do-
this to agenda.
I would do that, I would bring that to Kyle, rather
Yes.
than the commission first. I'd go to Kyle first.
Yep. So we wanna, when we do these commission meetings, we wanna make sure we just follow the agenda. We don't wanna stray off of, all of a sudden, let's start talking about what we should be doing, you know, so just to try to keep them orderly, we can create that suggestion, we can make that a agenda topic for an upcoming
Oh, okay.
commission meeting, and then we can talk about it then, so staff is prepared and other commissioners have time to think about it and put feedback in. we just don't wanna, if nobody knows what we're talking about, then it just becomes a bunch of people talking and we don't really accomplish much.
That's fine, just so I know who to get it to put it on the agenda.
Everything goes to Kyle.
Kyle.
Everything goes to Kyle.
Kyle, Kyle.
Ken, it is in this community guide. There, I
There's a
mean,
list of
There's a
addresses.
list of addresses, so if you have that, I kept it because I figured it would come in handy for this.
On that flash drive, there's that map too. It shows you where all the parks are, so you'll have a copy of that as well. So,
Great.
there's a lot of information on those flash drives, so if you do wanna grab one, there's a lot of stuff you can page through on there just to kinda get you
Up to date.
up to date and stuff to look at.
Okay, the last item is Parks and Rec Commissioner updates. Being this is our first meeting, anybody have anything?
Happy to be here.
I just feel a great sense of relief that we're going to have a lot more communication between us and you, Kyle, and the city. And that makes this job kind of fascinating and exciting for me because I think we are the eyes and the ears of the community. And I want to be that. I don't know about the other commissioners, but I love that they feel they have people they can talk to. So when we do, then we share that with you, is correct, right? And I already feel you're going to be a very nice person to answer, so I don't hear from the community. I called them 3 times and he hasn't gotten back to me.
I'll try my best.
No, you are already showing your willingness, so thank you.
What do we do with these?
All right,
Can we sign these and give them to Jolene?
Yes, if I may briefly, if you could all sign off on those oaths and return them to me, I'm going to sign them and those will become part of our permanent record.
okay. I'll pass them down. Thanks, Jolene, too, for the setup with the computers and everything. It really nice.
Those are so efficient.
Certainly today's meeting was longer than probably most of our meetings, but there's a lot of information that we got from staff today, and we heard a lot from staff, and I would guess that in the future, they're gonna want it reversed, and they're gonna wanna hear from us on this, so looking forward to having the discussion with the group.
Thank you, you did a great job.
And motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Karen move. Second by Tim. All in favor?
Aye.